So good evening. We are going to start with chapter number 5, that is the operating system. We have already learned what do you mean by operating system and what all the rest things about this operating system in the last lecture. But today in this chapter we are going to see something more about this operating system. So let us see in detail about this operating system. Operating system is nothing but it is a software which is going to act as an interface between the end user and the computer hardware. That is nothing but that OS is going to work as the interface between the user, the applicator who is going to use it, and between the computer hardware. So this is an OS. So every computer must have at least one OS to run another programs. Similarly, if you are going to see something on the mobile phones, even that different kinds of mobile phones or the Android phones, you may say that Android phones are also consisting some kind of OS. Why? Because whatever the application you are going to download into that mobile phones, then that is compatible with that OS. Okay, so that application is going to run on your mobile phone is due to that OS. So that is nothing but the operating system. So every computer or every mobile phone whatever you are using right now must have at least one OS to run the other programs. So for example, the applications like Chrome, if you take the applications like Chrome, the applications like MS Word, the applications like games, etc. There are a number of applications we are using right now. So they need some compatible environment in which it is going to perform its particular task. Is it not? So this OS will help you to communicate from the computer without knowing how to speak the computer language. Means what? So whenever we are going to write an instruction program, right? So whenever you are going to write an instruction program, that means what actually you are doing, that instruction whatever you are going to type is been converted into some other language which is understood by the PC. Is it not? But this is not the case into this OS. So whenever the OS is there, that OS is going to help you to communicate with the computer, with the laptops, with the mobile phones, but without knowing its any language, without knowing the language of the computer. So it is not possible for the user to use any computer or any mobile device without operating system. As I told you earlier also, there is no any computer, there is no any mobile device or there is no any laptops who is going to run without OS. So OS has to be the compulsorily part of that computer system. So here you can see what exactly is the definition of computer system or of the operating system. That operating system is nothing but a program. Actually it is a program that is going to act as an interface between the user and the computer hardware, which is going to have all the controls and executing all the kinds of programs. So here in the figure you can see that this is the operating, this is the software. Using this software, that is the software, system softwares, the application softwares, with the help of this OS is going to make the interface between the hardware. So due to OS, the software is going to communicate with the hardware with respect to this OS. So with respect to this operating system, you can communicate with RAM, you can communicate with CPU, you can communicate with any input-output peripherals. So that this user, this is nothing but the number of users, this user is going to communicate with this CPU, RAM or input output devices with the help of this operating system, so that this operating system is going to work the interface between the user and the hardware program, or you may say it as a computer hardware. Hope so you have understood now what do you mean by the operating system. So let us have an overview of this computer system again. An operating system is nothing but a software which is going to perform all kind of basic tasks like the file management, like the memory management, like the process management, or handling the input output devices or any controlling peripherals devices such as disk, drives and printers, etc. So here we can say that this operating system not only about the software it is going to help, but all the software kind of programs what it is other than the application is like the file management system, memory management, process management, handling the input output peripherals such as like the disks, drivers and printers, that is all compatible with the operating systems. So we know whenever we are going to attach some kind of printers, what we are going to do, we are going to see that the printer is compatible with the software or not. So some popular operating systems which are like Linux operating system, Windows operating system, VMS, OS 400, AIX, ZOS, etc. So these are some kinds of operating system which we are going to run for this OS. So here you can see the market share for the operating system. In this diagram you can see these are nothing but the Windows phone, that is the Windows OS which we are using, the customers are using, that is 40% of the user are using the Windows phones. So remaining here 38% people are using the Android phones, that is nothing but the OS which is running on the Androids. And here you can see the iOS, that is the Apple users are only 16% who are going to use this. Mac OS is 4% and rest other are the 2%. Some other OS might be using by them. So these are nothing but the market share you can see. So Windows and Android are the max using phones, and Apple is also the next phone which we are going to use. And so likewise, according to the manufacturer or according to the designer, the OS can be varied. So here you can see, here is a list of the operating systems, that is the latest for the market share. Windows OS, if you are going to take Windows OS, the share is for 40.34%. If Android, it is 37.95%. If Apple, it is 15.44%. If Mac OS, it is 4.34%. Linux 0.95%. Chrome OS 14.14%. And Windows Phone OS is 0.06. So let us see how is the history of OS. What is the history of OS? How this is been generated and how this has been capable for the different kinds of systems, and how it has been come up with new features. So this operating system were first developed in the late 1950s to manage the tape storage. Okay. So the later on, this General Motor researched the lab and implemented the first OS in the early 1950s of their IBM 701. So in mid 1960s, the operating system started to use the disks. And later, again in 1960s only, the first version of Unix OS was developed, and later the first OS built by Microsoft was DOS. It was built in 1981 by purchasing the 86-DOS Microsoft software from the Cittal company. So the present day, that is the popular OS Windows, whatever we are using, the mobile phones also we are using nowadays, that is also of Windows OS, which is working on Windows. So that came first to existence in 1985 when the graphic user interface, that is GUI, was created and paired with MS-DOS. So let us see some features about this operating system. So whenever a protected and it is a supervisory mode, this operating system is going to work under the protected and supervisory mode. Second thing, this operating system is allowing the disk access file, the system files, and also the device drivers networking security. So in detail we are going to look about all these things. So the next thing is our operating system is having the feature of program execution, memory management and virtual memory multitasking, handling input output operations, manipulations of the file system, error detection and handling, resource allocation, information and resource protection. So these are some kinds of features what this operating system is looking for. Now we are going to see in detail about all these features. So let us have a look of this. So the first one we are going to see is the protected and supervisory mode. So in the modern CPUs, the support something that is called as the dual mode operation. Is it not? So the CPUs with such capabilities is going to use in two modes. Especially it is working on the protected mode, and secondly it is working on the supervisory mode. So which is going to allow the CPU to function and control, and also it is affected only by the operating system kernel. So there is a next thing, in the next point we are going to see something about the kernel operating system, which is advanced of these all operating system. So whenever the CPU is handling and capability, it is going to work under two modes, that is the protected mode and second one is the supervisor mode. So here the protected mode does not refer specially to the 80286 these things 80286 Intel 16-bit processor, but it is a CPU feature, although it is working in its protected mode itself from a very similar to it. So the CPUs might have other modes similar to 80286, that is protected mode as well, and the virtual mode, that is 8086, is handling in the series of 80386, which is nothing but the 32-bit microprocessor or i386. So these are the processor and so protected and supervisory mode for that particular 80286 and 80386, which is working on the virtual mode. So similar modes are also existed in the supercomputers, also existed in the mini computers, in the mainframes, and as they are essential to fully supporting Unix like multi-user operating systems. So when a computer first startups, it is automatically running into the supervisory mode. Okay. So first, when the few programs are run onto the computer, then being in the BIOS bootloader, we know what you mean by bootloader. So whenever you are automatically running the PC on, there is a function called as bootloader at the down section. So that operating system has the unlimited access. Whenever you are going to on the PC, it is working on the supervisory mode and it is having the unlimited access to the hardwares. And that hardware, it is required by the definition, that is the initializing the protected environment can only be done outside of the one. Okay. So whenever the operating system passes the control to another program, it can place the CPU into the protected mode. So whenever the supervisory mode, whenever you want to come out from the supervisory mode and enter into the protected mode, then the OS has to pass its control to another program so that it can place the CPU into the protected mode. So in this protected mode, many programs may have access to more limited sets of CPU instructions. So the user program may leave the protected mode only by the triggering an interrupt. So as you are going to open the laptop or the PC, already the PC is by default into the supervisory mode, right? So whenever you want to come out of that and enter into the protected mode, that time what you want to need is, you need to pass the control. You need to pass the control, or the OS has to pass the control to another program, and then the CPU can be converted into the protected mode. And so for this, once it is converted into the protected mode, and when the user may want to leave that protected mode, and that is only possible whenever by triggering an interrupt. When there is some kind of interrupt is going to occur, then that protected mode is going to be left and that pass is been given to the kernel. Okay, so this is the procedure. So in this way, the operating system may maintain the exclusive control over the things like hardware and the memory. So the term protected mode resource generally refers to one or more CPU registers which contains the information that is going to running in the program is not allowed later on. So attempting to alter these resources generally causes a switch to supervisor mode when the operating system can deal with illegal operations to program was attempting. For example, whenever you are going to kill the programs. So whenever you attempt, see that whenever there are multitasking mode is going on, and simultaneously when 2 to 3 programs are running in the background, one of the page is going to kill itself, kill the program. That means the message is displayed that the pages are been killing. So that is nothing but the resources are generally switched to supervisory mode so that it is exempted to go for the killing of the program. Next we are going to see is the program execution. Now an operating system must be able to load many kinds of activities into the memory and to run it. Okay, so the program must be able to execute the execution and its execution either by normally or by abnormally mode. So when a process includes the complete execution of the written program or the code, So whenever you are going to come either in the normally or abnormal fashion, when a processor is completed its whole task by executing that particular program. So there are some activities which are performed by the operating systems. So let us see the functions which are operated by the operating systems is like the operating system loads the program into the memory. First case is the operation is going to load into the program is going to load into the memory. That is the first. Second thing is that it is also executes the program memory. Third, it handles the program's execution. It handles the program's execution, and it is going to provide the mechanism for a process synchronization, as well as it is going to provide the mechanism for process communication. So these are some activities which are followed by the operating systems. So next we are going to move for the memory management and virtual management memory multitasking. So let us see, before in going to deep with the memory management or virtual memory, we should know what do you mean by multitasking. So what is memory management and multitasking? We know multitasking is nothing but a mechanism which the CPU is going to handle number of things at the same time. Okay, when the CPU is going to run number of programs at the same time, or the which is going to perform number of tasks at the same time, then the multitasking is going to occur. Then you may say that the CPU is into the multitasking mode. Then during multitasking, the common resource like CPU and the memory are shared, and this can cause a delay, and it takes time for the data to travel from one point to another, or latency. So during multitasking, the common resource like CPU and the memory are shared, then this causes the delay in the time it takes for the data to travel from one point to another. Then what is virtual memory management? So virtual memory is a memory where the management capability of the operating system, which is nothing but uses the hardware and software to allow the computer to compensate for physical memory storages. So this memory, virtual memory is nothing but the memory management itself for the operating system, which is going to use the hardware as well as software both. For what purpose it is going to use? For the physical memory storages, right? So by temporarily transferring some random memory access to the disk storage, we know whenever we want to store an extra data into your PC, what we are doing, an extra amount of whatever the data you have into your PC, we are storing it into a disk, and we are making space for the computer to store some or to load some another applications or any another data information, right? So that is nothing but the disk storage is nothing but where you are going to transfer some kind of data into the disk memory. So the virtual address space is increased using the active memory in RAM and inactive memory in the hard disks to form the contiguous addresses that hold both its application and data. Next we are going to see is the handling input-output operations. So let us have an overlook for this management input-output devices. So input-output devices has a management is very important part of the operating system. So important and so varied that entire input-output subsystems are devoted to its own operations, right? So consider now that input-output system can be from different devices ranging from the modern computer to the mouse, the keyboards, the disk drives, display adapters, USB devices, network connections, audios, input-output, printers, special devices for the handicapped people, and many special purpose peripherals whichever you are using as an input and output for the communication between the application and the user. So whatever applications you are using, that is very important, and that input output subsystem is devoted to its own particular operation. So this input output system may contented with two things, two trends. First one is the gravitation towards the standard device interfaces for a wide range of devices, and second, by using this wide range of devices, it is going to make easier to add newly developed devices to the existing systems. And second thing is that for development of the entirely new type of devices which is going to exist for the standard interfaces and are always easy to apply. So these are the two trends for the input output subsystems. So the device drivers. Now next we are going to see is the device drivers. So these device drivers are the modules that can be plugged into an OS to handle a particular device or the category of similar devices. So to plug some number of OS to one particular device, then these device drivers are required. So the input output hardware. So these input output devices can be roughly categorized as the storage communication, or it may says as the user interface and any other. So the devices communicate with the computer via signals are sent through the wires. So we know whenever we want to communicate, the communication is a procedure where it can be done by the wireless mode and also by the wire mode. So whenever you are going to talk or whenever you are going to communicate with the help of the wired mode, then the cables are being utilized for transferring the data from one place to another. Similarly, whenever you are going to transmit the information signal or whenever you want to communicate from one place to another through wireless mode, then air can be the medium through which the signals are being transmitted. Right? So simultaneously, whenever you are going to communicate the devices with the computer via signals, then set of wires or the set of cables or through the air. Okay, so the device is connected with a computer, that is via the ports, that is the example is a serial or a parallel port. So a common set of wires can be connected to the multiple devices, which is called as a bus. So these buses include the rigid protocol of the types of messages that can be sent across the bus and procedures for resolving the connection issues. Next is the figure shows the illustrate 3 to 4 bus type commonly found in the modern PCs. So here you can see, this is the diagram where you can see there are 4 actually the buses, that is the PCI bus, the expansion bus, the disks and the SCI controller, the processor, bridge microcontroller, graphics controller, monitor, cache and memory. So and the third is SCSI bus. So these are the different kinds of buses through which the information is transmitted with the help of the main bus, that is PCI. So here you can see the PCI bus is connected for the high speed and high bandwidth devices to the memory subsystem and the CPU. So the expansion bus, here you can say the expansion bus connects for the lower bandwidth and the devices which are typically deliver one character at a time. So whenever maximum data you are requiring, high bandwidth data you are requiring, then this PCI bus is connected. Here you can see this PCI bus is connected to the memory and the CPU of the system. And whenever you are going to work on this expansion bus, so this expansion bus is used for the lower bandwidth and for lower data where only one character can be transmitted at a time. So this is connected to the expansion bus. And the next bus is the SI bus, and this SCSI bus is connects the number of SCSI devices to common SCSI controller. And the last bus is the daisy chain bus, which is not shown in the diagram, but when a string of the devices is connected to each other like beads on the chain and only one device is connected to the host. So likewise, here you can talk about the master and slave, where master is connected to number of slaves. So this is the procedure when it is called as the daisy bus chain. So this is the typical structure for the bus structure, as I told you, typical PC bus structure where 3 types of buses are used and it is connected to its own controller, memory, monitor, processor, and different kinds of bus extensions are given: keyboard, serial port and parallel port. Next we are going to see is the manipulation of the file system. So file system is a collection of the related information that a computer may store files on the disk for the long number of storage purpose. Now we know, as I told you earlier also, whenever you want to what you can say, you want to move this memory into some hard disk memory. What you are going to do, that hard disk can be connected externally to the PC, and direct the signals can be transmitted, or direct the information is transmitted into the disk, so as the long term storage is possible into that hard disk. Okay, so for example, you can see the DVDs you can use, the CDs you can use, the magnetic tapes you can use, or any other optical devices you can use, where the capacity of whatever the information you need to transfer and to be kept for the longer time, then all the data can be transferred to these kinds of examples. So these have its own property. If you are going to have DVD or CD, it has its own property like speed, data capacity, or transfer rate, data access method, etc. So these are having its own features. So file system is generally organized into directories for easy navigation and usage. Now which kind of application you are required? Now suppose for just to save some particular songs or anything, what kind of things you are do now using nowadays, you can transfer it into the CDs, or you can transfer it to the DVDs as well. So why? Because depending upon the application, depending upon the data or the memory you want to transfer, that kind of example can be utilized. So these directories can contain files and other directions. So some major activities of the operating system with respect to file management are: the program required to read the file or write the file, that is true. Second thing, the operating system gives permission to the program for operation on the file. Okay, and the third is the permission is going to vary from read only, read write, and so on. So what is the application you want to do? You want to read the file, you want to read write the file, or you want to just write the file? That is dependent upon the permission. So the operating system provides an interface to the user, so that you can delete the file and you can create the file as well from the files and directories. So you know, the file is one icon given on your MS DOS or Excel, whatever you are going to create something new, there is one file icon here where you can delete the file, where you can save the file, or where you can create the file as well. Some new files can be also created. So that operating system provides the interface to create the backup file system. The next we are going to see is the error detection and handling. So whatever, an error is nothing but a part of a system which may cause the malfunctioning of the complete system. We know whatever the signal you are going to receive at the receiver side, it should be the error-free signal. Similarly, here also, whenever you are going to store some information, that time also you need to see that that is an error-free system which may cause the malfunctioning. If the file is corrupted, if there is some error into the file, your whole system may get corrupted, or the whole file may get corrupted, which is nothing but called as the malfunctioning. So to avoid such situations, what we are doing, the operating system is continuously monitoring the system for detecting the errors, and to relieve the user of the worry of the error propagating to the various parts of the system and causing malfunctioning. So it is sending the messages to each and everything that it is continuously detecting the errors. So these services is not allowed, cannot be allowed to handle by the programmers, because it involves monitoring, and completely it cases is altering the area for memory and deallocation of the memory, right? So or maybe relinquishing the CPU or a processor that goes into an infinite loop. So these tasks are too critical to hand it over the user programs. So the user program is given these privileges so that it can interface correctly, that is in the normal mode, for the operating of the operating systems. Next we are going to see is the reallocation, resource allocation. So in computing system, resource allocation is necessary for any application to run on a software or on the system. So when the user opens any programs, that can be counted as a process, and therefore they requires the computer to allocate certain resources to be able to run. So whenever you are going to open one program, that means the processor or the OS is going to allocate the resource to run that particular program. So such resources could be accessed to a section for the computer memory data device, and which is going to interface the buffer, one or many number of files that are required to the amount of processing power. Next is the information and resource protection. So now whatever the data you are going to store into the PC, that has to be secured, right? That has to be protected. So the security refers to providing the protection system to the computer system resources such as CPU, memory, disk, software programs, and most importantly the data information stored into computer system. So if a computer program is run by an unauthorized user, now we know whatever the devices we are using so far, for locking that particular system or to save that data, what we are using is the first thing, you can put a password, you can use your fingerprint, you can use a face detection, you can use some kind of what you can say, some patterns can be included as a security purpose. So you can, if some third person is using your mobile, or a third person is using your device, or some unauthorized user is using, it may cause severe damage to the computer or PC and the data which is stored into your laptops or computers or mobiles. So that the computer must be protected against the unauthorized access. Even though whenever you are going to download some unauthorized file, then the system displays the message that this is not safe. So whether, even though if it is not safe, do you wish to continue or not, right? So that is nothing but it is this thing, the protection is required. So whatever of the data you have stored into the computer, so that the, if the unauthorized data is been detected, then the virus may be entered into your PC, and the data whatever you have stored may be get corrupted. So for that purpose the protection is required. So that protection can be done as it has been displayed over here, listed out over here. Authentication has been given. Second, authentication means you can put some particular passwords, one time passwords, that is OTP, you know. OTP is nothing but one time password, so that can be given. Third is the program threats, you can recognize with the help of that program text, system threats, and the next one is the computer security classification. So these are some things or the protection modes where you can protect your PCs. So here is, you can see with the help of the user. So finally again the diagram I am showing you all, in that the summary we are going to see of the operating system, that the definition what we have seen earlier is that the user, whatever the user is, which is going to connect the hardware with the help of this operating system. So this diagram shows you the user which is going to run some particular application, and that application has run to the hardware, but with the help of this operating system the user can play this application onto the hardware. So this is nothing but, again, the connection from user to hardware is nothing but called as operating system. Okay, so for in this operating system we have seen the number of things what we are and what are the different features, and in detail about each and every feature. So in the next lecture we are going to see about the kernel and the operating system of the kernel. So for now, thank you.